The Spartan Nation podcast is sponsored by Arctic Arcade, located at 3367 West State Road 10, Lake Village, Indiana. The hours are 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., Tuesday through Sunday. A family-owned business. You can get burgers, beef, pizza, soft serve ice cream, arcade games, and more. Stop in today.
Hey, let's go! Get in here! Get in here right now! Get in here! Hey, we got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives! 30 minutes for the rest of our lives! That's our battle first down. It happens. We get the ball. I promise you one thing. We're going to hit somebody and we're taking downfield for a touchdown. I guarantee you that.
Hello, Spartan Nation, and welcome back to the Spartan Nation podcast. And with that win over Delphi, North Newton has moved 5-2 and 3-0 in conference. They have clinched another winning season, 4 years in a row. Don't know, looking back at the record books, don't know when the last time, if or at all, North Newton has had 4 winning seasons in a row. I know they've had 3, but 4 could be a first for this program. Now looking at a game against Delphi, was not expecting that kind of game. 49-19 and holding them to 12 points and leading into the fourth quarter was unbelievable. I thought it was going to be more of a close game. I'm not saying that North Newton didn't have the ability to do that. Delphi had the ability to blow us out too at the same time. It's just that I was figuring, since these were 2 decent teams, and if you look at the last year games, if you look at the years past, they've been pretty close games. They've been kind of down the wire kind of games, but this was the first time that I think North Newton was in full control and could basically do whatever they want. Passing, it was so-and-so, but why do you need passing when you had a running game like you did? Austin Goddard and Colin Wagner both had very outstanding over 100 yards game. But let's go ahead and look at passing. Austin Goddard was 2 for 4, 20 yards, and a average of 10 yards through 2 interceptions. The 2 interceptions, one was more kind of like a punt through in the end zone, intercepted in the end zone. The other one was more of a, I'm getting pressure, I'm getting attacked, and I'm going to throw the ball and kind of make a, not a smart move, but that's a learning curve. That's going to be experience, and the coaches are going to work through that. It's just a mental thing, and you have to work through, but a lot better than last week. And then when you look at the rushing, Austin Goddard had 15 carries, 110 yards, average 7.3 yards a carry, a long of 55 with 2 touchdowns, and that's really helped out. Was that running game with Austin, much better running game this week than it was last week. Also, I mean, you also got Colin Wagner, who is averaging it's almost 300 yards a game. He had 36 carries, 310 yards, average of 8.6, a long of 37, and 5 total touchdowns. That is, he is the workhorse. He will be the workhorse all the way through this entire season. But then we look at receiving. Cade Ellinger had 1 reception, 15 yards. Austin Goddard had 2 fumble recoveries. Bryce Shedrow had 2 interceptions. And Elijah Duranilo was 5 for 6 on extra points. And here is my interview with Bryce Shedrow. Looking at Delphi, I mean, even looking at the stats, you have 4 interceptions, you lead the team by 1. You should have, I would say, about 2-3 more. I just think there were a couple ones that were out of your grasp. But in Delphi, you had 2 big key ones, one in the end zone. What helps you kind of, being a little bit shorter than most of the receivers, you're jumping and all that. What have you trained in the offseason to kind of get that height and that speed to stay with those bigger receivers?
I've just been, going to weights has been a big thing with, in the mornings, and then running over all the routes that they have in practices has been also a big thing, because then I know, what's coming up and everything, so I know how to react to it and everything when I see it coming up.
But how does it feel to have, 4 interceptions and lead the team at this point right now?
I didn't come into the season expecting to do all this. I was my mindset was just to learn the position and then do a good enough job for the coaches to be happy with it. And so doing all this has not been a part of my mindset. It's just been happening, so I have no clue how to.
Looking throughout the year, what has, maybe what's one moment that you've really kind of remember and you enjoyed the most? What is, that memory, throughout the season?
Probably the first interception I got against North Judson, because like when it happened, I was standing up and everyone just crowded me and was cheering me on, and it was pretty cool to have.
Obviously, this is your junior, first year really playing full varsity level. Just sitting back on the sidelines, how much have you learned, from the sidelines and now being actually on the field?
Since I've sat on the sideline for years, like the 2 years, I've learned a lot because I've seen like how to react to a play a certain way from like all the recent cornerbacks we've had, and then from like watching, because I didn't start at the beginning, so like I watched throughout, and so it's been a really big help.
Now looking at North White, their run to pass, or their pass to run is like 75-25. So they pass the ball a lot more. When you're looking at film, what is the big thing you're keying off of while watching it?
I watch like the wide receivers mostly for like when they're on offense, and so like I'll see how the receivers react to like if something happens, or I'll watch them and how they like see their routes and all of that.
And here is my interview with Matthew Berry. Now I'm standing here with Matthew Berry, offense and defensive lineman. How are we doing today, Matthew?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Just another lovely day in paradise. Looking through the game film, let's just throw it back to Frontier, okay? And, at the beginning, on Friday, you guys were kind of flat, both sides of the ball, and luckily Frontier was kind of a little bit flat. Already, I would say not so much flat, and it was kind of back and forth a little bit. But then coming out on Saturday and you making that, they tried a 2-point conversion, you came, batting that down, and everyone last week was like, that was what really changed it. How does it feel to be a bit of a motivating changer?
Yeah, really felt good. I saw that QB was rolling out. I was going to sack him, but saw the ball and I swatted it down, and felt really good about that.
Now with being a sophomore, last year you obviously didn't play any varsity, though. You probably did a little bit here and there, but not much. What work ethic have you tried to prove to the coaches that you have the ability to play at that level as a sophomore?
Showing up to weights, doing weights through the off season and during the in season, pushing myself to my limits and hitting hard and getting on my blocks.
Now looking defensively, I would say you guys defensive line, as with Olive and Sharinga and you, when you guys are in the 3-4, a lot of plays that happen in the backfield, that you guys make a lot of plays, you guys are always a part of that. You have a couple of solo tackles for loss and things like that. What has been giving you guys the advantage, or you the advantage, to get into the backfield and kind of disrupt everything?
I think we're just a little bit bigger of a line, and we can explode off real hard. And our coaching staff is pretty good, with Coach Eric helping us, learning how to throw our hands up and exploding off the ball, and Coach Rowell for helping us with what we have to do, slanting and all that.
Now, kind of looking at last week with Delphi, defensively, you guys had a defensive battle for a little bit, then you guys kind of gave up a couple big plays, but then you basically shut them down the entire second half. How does that feel from going from last year to watching the sideline saying, wow, we could have won that game and we just kind of blew it, and then this year kind of giving the taste of their own medicine? How does that feel to be a part of that?
I really love it when you're on the field, and payback's payback. We had to pay it back to them, and I really wish we would have won last year, but we didn't come out hard as we wanted to. But this year we knew we wanted to come out and smack them.
Now against North White, you guys secured a winning season. You have potential, maybe possibly clinching the conference next week, but we'll probably have to wait until Tri-County week to figure that one out. But with that in the mindset, are you looking at as, okay, we have a chance for conference? Are you just kind of looking at it as we just kind of need to win this game just because?
I'm looking at it, we need to win the game because we just want to have a winning record and win the conference. And then just going on after that and next week, and then sectionals come up.
And here is my interview with offensive coordinator TJ Newton. So now looking at Delphi, going to halftime it was pretty close, and then just after that you guys just had an offensive show, defensive show, everything worked pretty well. But what offensively wasn't really working that night?
Well, I think offensively everything was working. The first drive we go down to the 1 yard line, we miss a key block on our jet, and that was the score. And then we go down, drive right back down the field, and then we just threw a screen behind the line of behind the guy, and it was a fumble. We just kind of shot ourselves in the foot. And then after that, we got ourselves together and we put 2 scores up right before the half. And I think we did a really good job in the first half with our tempo. We kept the pedal to the metal, and we really made them defend every blade of grass. We had them going sideways with our screens, trying to run outside, and then running up the middle. We had a couple passes in there that pushed them vertically. And so by the end of the second quarter, they looked like they were gassed. And then we came out, and we take pride in our conditioning, and we were still fresh and they weren't. And from there, everything got easier.
Now with that, the past 2 weeks, the passing game really hasn't been relevant. What are you, discussing with Goddard to kind of improve? Is it anything mentally? I mean, obviously he can do it physically. Just is there something that from the weeks prior to, these past 2 weeks that have been kind of an issue for him?
Oh, well, he went 2 for 4 with Delphi. I told him the good thing about those screens is because they're behind, they don't go against his pass percentage. But in the same sense, he did a really good job of running the ball. He rushed for over 100 yards, 2 scores, made some really big plays running the ball. And we'll take that really over the throw-in. But we told him the first one, we shot ourselves in the foot, ended up in 4th and long. When he threw that pick in the end zone, that was really just a punt. We were going to throw it up and just see what happened. So that one really wasn't a big deal. The second one, he's got to learn, when to let a bad play, not make it worse. And then he's trying to make a play, trying to get rid of the ball, and that guy just happened to be there, one of those fluke things. But other than that, but with the trouble with the screens, we tended to shy away from the pass game a little bit. But at the same time, when you're rushing for over 400 yards a game, there's really no need to pass.
Yeah, and looking back at the stats, Colin Wagner's over 1,200-something yards now, leads the conference in all scoring and all that other stuff. What is your game plan as far as who on defense for North White kind of scares you a little bit that you're trying to key on?
Oh, well, they're 2 D tackles. They're pretty big kids. Number 77, he's a 6'2", 315-pound kid. He's got 43 tackles, 13 for a loss. Then the other tackle's 6 foot, 275. So there's a lot of size there in the middle. Their outside backers, 8 and 9. 9's the quarterback. They lead the team in tackling. So their outside backers definitely, they get involved in the run game. And then secondary-wise, number 33, he might be their best skill guy. He's their leading receiver. He's leading our conference in receiving. He's got 2 picks and 15 pass deflections. So those really are the guys that we're most worried about on defense.
But that's going to wrap it up with the interviews. North White, I just don't know if they can pull it out against North Newton. I just don't know if they have the condition capability. You showed last week that North Newton these players can defend the pass and shut down people that like to pass the ball, and they can obviously shut down the run. I just don't know if North White really has it in them to take over North Newton. And yes, it's going to be their senior night. Yes, they're going to be motivated. But I don't see it being close. I could see it maybe being 56-10, maybe. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to find out Friday what that's going to be like. But that's going to do it for the Spartan Nation podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savedich, and be sure to like, comment, and share with your friends, families. Be sure to follow me on YouTube and Spreaker as well. YouTube, just a little bit more different. and Spreaker is just audio. Like I said earlier, if you are a small business looking to have your stuff advertised, I will have my email address down below, and we can probably work something out, and you will be on my podcast, different things like that, because I want to expand this into more sports, just not football and things like that. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you are listening to this, and catch you in next week's podcast.
Hey, let's go! Get in here! Get in here right now! Get in here! Hey, we got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives! 30 minutes for the rest of our lives! That's our battle first down. It happens. We get the ball. I promise you one thing. We're going to hit somebody and we're taking downfield for a touchdown. I guarantee you that.
The Spartan Nation podcast is sponsored by Arctic Arcade, located at 3367 West State Road 10, Lake Village, Indiana. The hours are 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., Tuesday through Sunday. A family-owned business, you can get burgers, beef, pizza, soft serve ice cream, arcade games, and more. Stop in today.